When I started working on the libretto, one of the first things that I started thinking about was what are the emotional sort of scenes or strokes of the whole piece. There were certain things that were a given. There's going to be music for the fiery furnace. There's going to be music for worshiping the image of gold. There's going to be a scene of praise at the end. So that was a nice framework, and those are very dramatic, strong, upbeat or at least fast elements. So then the next thing was to sort of fill in the other gaps. And early on in the process, I thought, there's this tremendous confession of sin on behalf of all of Israel by Daniel, later in I believe it's Daniel 9. And although that wasn't, spoken by Shadrach, Meshach, or Abednego, I thought it's a beautiful prayer, beautiful sort of sentiment. And I knew early on that I wanted to start with that. That to me the whole story was really about the separation, not only from Jerusalem that these people felt, but also sort of a separation from God. I mean, there was a reason they were in captivity. And the real backdrop for this whole thing is sort of that longing to be in the presence of God. In particular for the Israelites, that longing to be back in their home Jerusalem. So early on, this confession set the stage for sort of saying, we Israel have sinned against you. We've broken the oath of the covenant that you had with Moses, and we're begging your mercy. So that was sort of a very important sort of part of the process when I decided to begin it that way, to begin it with this humble confession. And then out of that grew sort of the sentiment that there was this longing for Jerusalem. And in the Psalms, there's lots of language sort of about Jerusalem, and that is absolutely tied in with their living in the presence of God, so to speak. And as a Christian, it speaks very powerfully to me that so much of our longing in this world is to be in heaven with God. And however Christians or Jewish people think about it, there is a separation that we experience in this life. And so for me, that became a very important part of it. And interestingly enough, today we had the third performance of the piece. And it all really sort of came together, that the longing for Jerusalem and the psalm where it says, I long for the day when I can stand in your gates, O Jerusalem. I mean, it's just very powerful. And I think in some ways that sentiment is even more overriding than in just this particular episode, because it just speaks to so much more of what's going on in the book of Daniel. So there were some things that I think worked their way in subliminally in the creative process, or at least I've forgotten some of the reasons they were there. And now today I'm sort of hearing them in not a fresh way, but at least it's all coming together. And I think those are sort of the emotional things that are really important.